Well, all right, kiddos, it's time to sharpen up those edges and grease up your chains. We are going to live it up with mountain life. Dropping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, what's up, mountain lifers, mountain lovers, denizens of the snowfields and children of the forests? This is Feet Banks coming at you from the unceded territory of the Squamish Nation, and we are back living it up with mountain life. Special opening day edition. That's right, it's opening weekend for our local ski hill, Whistler Blackcomb. And to celebrate that, we've got a skiing veteran, a legend in his own time here on the show, Mr. Ian McIntosh. And that's coming up. But first, how are you doing out there? Feeling okay? Remaining calm? It's been a hell of a couple years, hell of a couple weeks even, especially out here in British Columbia. We're in a state of emergency over here, cut off from the rest of the country, picking up the pieces of our roads, our communities, some of us our lives, in the wake of this giant stinking rainstorm of unprecedented rains and precip, moisture falling from the sky, floods, washouts, mudslides. Some people lost their lives in the mudslides. A lot of people lost their homes in the floods, their farms, their animals, their livelihoods. It was heinous. It was tragic. And it continues to be pretty bad. We've got more weather in the forecast. We're under fuel rations. People are hoarding toilet paper again, hoarding food. Not everyone, but not no one either. And listen, I get it. You get scared and you feel isolated, and buying all the rice on the shelf seems like a good idea. 8 months worth of rice. But we got to remember, we're all in this together. And hoarding the rice sets off a bad chain reaction. It puts the wrong kind of energy out there. Because what happens when the dude can't find any rice at the store, but he knows he's got a Glock 9mm locked in a safe at home? And things go downhill from there. We've all read Lord of the Flies, right? So listen, let's not hoard the rice. There's an old African proverb that still charts. The best place for my extra food is in my neighbor's stomach. See? That's nice, right? That's the kind of energy and action we should be putting out there. Kindness, compassion, empathy, generosity. More of that, please. Less ego. The good news, if there can be such a thing amidst all this crazy weather and chaos, is that more people are thinking about and talking about and realizing about the climate crisis. Listen, a lot of areas in southwestern BC just saw the wettest day ever recorded, the most rainfall anyone has ever seen. And this is just 4 months after British Columbia hosted the hottest temperature ever recorded in Canada. We went from one extreme to the next, and in between, a savage wildfire season that, while not technically the worst ever, was still really bad, tragic bad. And that's making people pay attention. It's so bonkers out there that people are starting to make connections between forestry and fires and floods and weather and the stuff a lot of us have been banging on about for years, but not everyone has been paying attention to. It's all connected. And the mainstream media is starting to put those pieces together. And, people are starting to realize that it might all go down the shitter if we don't start acting. So we could start by saving all the remaining old growth we have left, out on Vancouver Island especially. And we can also be trying to reduce our emissions. We should be demanding that the old white dudes who run our governments and the profit-driven corporations that prop them up, they can do better. We should be demanding that they do better. And yes, it is mostly old white dudes, a highly disproportionate number, at least, of old white dudes. So maybe we should look at changing that too. Because the old way, the one made by those dudes, it's not working anymore. And I get into that with Ian later on. But for now, for us, what can we do? Well, to start, take a deep breath, then take another. Keep that Glock locked in the safe. We're not there yet, thankfully. But we can go outside. We can appreciate nature. And one easy thing we can do is to go to the Protect Our Winters Canada website and sign up to be a member. Donate if you can. Read their posts, their guides. Get organized, take action. That's a solid start. Another one is to heavily consider where you spend your money, especially this year. Local businesses are reeling from, 2 years of just getting kicked in the pants time and time again. Is the stuff you're buying this holiday season being shipped from across the planet? Is it made in ways that pillage the earth and ruin it? Could you just repair something you already have instead of replacing it? Listen, I know we're not all going to become hermits and live in pit houses and wipe our butts with clumps of lichen, okay? But we should be thinking about our own actions every day and trying to find ways to lead the charge in a positive way, to put that kind of mindset out there for others to see. That's what Ian McIntosh does. In the realm of skiing, Ian is a veteran and a master in the true sense of the word. He comes from a racing background. He competed in the formative years of the free skiing comps, and he's filmed all over the world, most notably with TGR. He's won powder awards. He's summited and skied big mountains, put down first ascents, and even made it onto ABC and NBC news shows after a big fall caught international attention. Ian is a large dude with an even larger heart, and he's a hell of a skier, so we're stoked to open the winter season with a little sit-down with him. Let's see what Ian has to say. All right, here we are, up in the beautiful Pemberton Valley. It is a gray and misty autumn day, and we've got Ian McIntosh here.
Yeah, buddy.
In his own home. Ian, thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. So this is one of the first pods we're kind of doing near to when it's going to be released. So that's exciting. It's autumn.
Yeah.
Is it your favorite time of year, watching that snow line creep down?
It's actually surprisingly not my favorite time of year. When winter gets here, I'm stoked. I love winter. I can't wait for it. But fall prep, there's just a lot of... it's just endless amounts of things to do to get ready for winter, and it's just raining and dark all the time, so I don't particularly love it.
I saw you guys were out getting firewood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty good mission, though. Pretty nice looking wood.
Oh, yeah. I found the honey hole this year.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's the endless quest for the honey hole, and I found a real good one this year, so it'll keep us going for a couple years, which is exciting.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I mean, for some of our listeners across the country or even down in the States, firewood up here is $800 a cord.
Yes.
So yeah, you're saving a lot of money getting your own wood.
Yeah, no, it's and I enjoy it. It's fun. It's like I love hard work, and getting wood's hard work, but it's also just like getting out into the forest, getting out into nature, and redneck dog walking the dog, which is basically driving along with your dog running along on an old logging road, and just nice to get out there.
Yeah. You grew up pretty rural in the Invermere area? Yeah,
exactly. Grew up in Invermere, BC, and been doing that kind of fall thing, like get firewood every fall my whole life, So.
And I know you I read, come from a skiing family. Your mom was an instructor, and
my mom was a level 3 instructor at one point, and then my dad went through the guiding world in the early days.
Yeah,
he was good. Good buddies with like Hans, who started CMH, and Rudy Gertz, who started Purcell, and then Roger Matson, who started RK, which were like the 3 kind of first heli ski operations of the world. And my dad was an integral part of that whole beginning, and then he went on to be the president of the Columbia Hut Association, which is just a group of huts within the Columbia Valley. Stretching almost up to Golden, and then further south, closer to Kimberley. So
awesome. So were you the kid that would this time of year, get your skis out on the living room floor and clicking in? Was there a lot of Christmas-like excitement?
Oh yeah, like I didn't like summer at all when I was young.
Yeah.
Being ginger with super pale skin probably contributed to that. But all I wanted to do was ski when I was little, and a new pair of skis, I'd sleep with them, so excited for sure.
You had brothers and sisters, or was it just you?
I grew up with my one brother, full time in the house with me. And then I also have a half brother and half sister. I don't really think of them as half brother, half sister, but in technical terms, they are. Yeah.
Yeah, they're older, or were you?
They're quite a bit older. Yeah.
So was a lot of your stuff hand-me-down gear, or did you get your own? For some kids, at the time you didn't get your brother's old skis.
Yeah, no, exactly. I always got hand-me-down stuff. So the few rare times I got something new, it was the most special thing in the world to me, whether it be a pair of skis or boots or whatever it was, because I was always using my brother's old stuff.
Has that affected, how you as an adult now, you're getting gear from sponsors and stuff, but does your stuff last a long time because of, that childhood where having your own thing was extra special? Like, are you hard on gear or do you cherish it?
Yeah, no, I'm incredibly hard on gear.
Right.
I take it for granted these days.
Yeah.
I just have so much access to good gear and new stuff. I'm super hard on my stuff, but anything that does survive any length of time for me, if you're a close friend of mine, you know that I'm pretty generous with my gear as well.
Right.
Because, otherwise my house would just be overflowing with it. So it's nice to be able to pass it forward, to friends that maybe don't have the same hookups.
Yeah.
And a pair of ski pants or a pair of skis to them might be, the world. So it's nice to be able to do that. And that's a kind of a huge bonus of what I do. I never really ever thought of just being able to like gift friends awesome gear.
And if it might have a little bit of sled oil or something on it, that's okay for them, right?
They're psyched. Whereas, for me, I got to be in the freshest kit, for photos and video and stuff. So it's nice to pass it on for sure. Yeah.
I mean, there's lots to cover. You've had a long and storied career. I wanted to jump ahead to this past winter. I know, we were landlocked to Canada this winter, and you went and hit a pretty big kind of childhood dream line. Was that Mount Nelson? Or?
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Tell me about that and just growing up looking at it and how that sort of came together.
Yeah, so growing up skiing Panorama Resort, which is just outside Invermere. If you've ever been to Panorama, you're basically looking right across at Mount Nelson, and Mount Nelson's one of the more prominent peaks in the area. It stands above 10,000 feet. And you see it from town. It's just, it's a really beautiful aesthetic mountain. And like I say, you're looking right at it from Panorama. So as a kid growing up ski racing, we're always looking at Mount Nelson. And then I started getting into free riding and, looking at it like through that lens of like, oh, is it skiable? Could we ski it one day? And meanwhile, Christina Lustenberger, who I grew up ski racing with, she kind of went more down the racing route. I went immediately into free ride, and she did quite well with racing, except she kept blowing out her knees. She was kind of an all or nothing girl. She would go so hard and either explode or win. So she had incredible amount of talent in ski racing, but had to eventually retire due to knee injuries. I think she did her one knee 5 times, or other one knee once. Right. And so, and that's like blowing the ACL, so it's, eventually she had to give that up. Then she went into guiding, became an ACMG guide, and then kind of has gotten into the free ride world, but more as like a ski mountaineer.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, then I went into the free ride world, and as I've gotten older, I've started pursuing more of this ski mountaineering objectives. And so we started off as kids racing together. We went completely separate paths, and then we've come back together, and our paths have like truly aligned, at least for this couple of years. I think where Christina's taking her career, she's eventually going to, keep going down that path. She's kind of just getting started on this ski mountaineering career side of things. I don't really know where my future is, but having kids now and everything, I don't know if that's necessarily the path I want to take.
Yeah.
But for now, anyway, we're super aligned, and it was really cool to come together. And she had that same childhood dream, and we'd been talking about it for the last few years. And then last winter, it was like COVID. We're stuck in BC. Turns out it's a really good snow year around that area, and across BC. And that's the other thing, is it's so rocky and shallow there, that to be able to ski that line, you need a really special year, not only from a stability standpoint, but just to have enough snow on the face to even ski it.
Yeah.
And so everything came together. The stars truly aligned for us to be able to go do that.
Awesome. And so it was, Alpine Start. Did you punch up the face, or how did you guys
we
climb
went
to the top?
We went up a similar route to the summer trail. There is a summer hiking route up there. There's like an old metal cross that's up on top of the mountain. So people do hike it in the summer, and we went more or less the summer trail, but with a variation that worked better for skinning in the trees and stuff. And yeah, we started skinning at 1:45 a.m., and then it was just starting to get that like early morning kind of twilight light as we were going up the south face of the mountain. And then, started getting close to topping out right at that perfect time to be skiing it. in a perfect world, we would have been a little bit earlier, but we were still within the realm of what we considered safety.
Yeah.
Just because the face does heat up a lot in the sun and everything. We wanted to get off it early while it was still cold. But yeah, it all worked out, you know. I think it's almost 7,000 foot hike. So a big one.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just really awesome to get up there and do it with a childhood friend and then, you know, be able to ski back down it. And obviously we had to ski it like total ski mountaineer style. We couldn't rip it like free ride, you know, like
it's a big exposed face.
Big exposed face, but more of the reason is just the snowpack is so faceted and so hollow, and there's just so many rocks.
Right.
And so tagging a rock and starting to tumble, that's the end of you, right?
Yeah,
or potentially the end of you. So we had to really take it easy and just, you know, ski it methodically, and we had to rappel out the bottom and everything and get off there. But it was so fun to do that. So fun to do it with Christina.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just something every time I go back to Invermere now, I can look up the mountain and just you look at it a little differently, you know, and
that was the first descent of that line? Or?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the town must have been pretty excited, you know, local kids coming back. And
for sure. And yeah, it was really cool. There was actually some debate about whether it was a first descent or not, but we cleared that up and it turns out it was. And yeah, just really cool. You know, the whole ski club that I grew up ski racing in was, you know, checking it out. All the ski patrol on Panorama were watching us do it. You know, there was a huge crowd like gathered, and then we went over to Panorama after skiing it, and we had like a party over there with a bunch of people, and you know, everyone was just so psyched. You know, I think Christina and I have made names for ourselves within the industry, and you know, when we go home, people know about what we're up to, and for everyone at home to kind of see us live in the flesh doing something like that was really cool for the whole community there, and the free ride club and all the kids and everyone. So yeah, somebody
filmed that line. You know, for someone like me, where do I get to see you know, that adventure on film? Or
right now the only place you can watch it is Teton Gravity Research's new film, Stoke the Fire.
Yeah.
And I've filmed with TGR as we call them since when was I? It was 15 years ago. So 2006 was the first year I filmed with TGR. And so, yeah, we're a long-standing relationship, and that's where you can check it out for now.
Yeah, awesome. I'll make sure everyone gets on that. And, you know, I did read, you know, you, speaking of guys like TGR and Matchstick and the, you know, the post-Warren Miller film companies, you grew up, you said, sort of looking at these big mountain rippers like Seth Morrison and those guys, went into that lifestyle for a while, and now drifting more into the, you know, self-powered, no heli, climb it before you ski it.
Yeah.
Sort of the Peyote Peterson school of ski mountaineering. Were those guys, I mean, you're a bit younger than me, but were those rap films and the Canadian scene, was that on your radar when you were growing up racing and switching over to free skiing?
Yeah, I mean, when I was super young, I had Trevor Peterson's poster on my wall of him skiing in Greenland, you know, and Peyote as well. Yeah, I knew all about what those guys were doing. You know, I was so into skiing, it didn't matter. Like, I knew about the whole race scene.
Right.
I knew about the whole free ride scene. You know, Seth Morrison was like my idol. It was really cool to be able to fast forward so many years. And then I got to spend many years flying around in helis with Seth in Alaska, you know, and getting to know him on a personal level and doing some pretty fun adventures with him. So it's really cool, you know, it's that whole, like, you know, follow your dream, and then, you know, you achieve your dream, and then all of a sudden you're out there with your idols kind of story, you know. But for me, I always admired all those guys, and yeah, for the last bunch of years I've been doing more foot powered approach stuff, but you know, then last year came around and I also did some heli skiing as well, because I'm not gonna turn down the opportunity, and I am, for lack of a better word, an environmentalist, and I understand the impact of helicopters and everything and so on and so forth, but at the same time, it's like, you know, I make a lot of steps in my own life to like lower my own impact, and a lot of these heli ski operations, I think, working closely with them, they all care deeply and are trying to figure out ways that they can lower their own impact. And it's not perfect. None of us are perfect. I'm not perfect, you know, but it's, you know, I'm a big proponent of, like, hey, you can work in oil and gas and still care about the environment. You know, you can still be an environmentalist and work, you know, at a coal mine, you know, like this is the way we're our industry or our economy works right now, we need to transition, and it's okay to be working in that industry and still want something better for the future. And so as a skier, I feel it's, I don't think you should just go heli skiing without any sort of thought about it, but it should definitely be in the back of your mind. You should be trying to lower your impact as much as you can. And I'm pretty methodical about the kinds of things I do. So yeah, some little bits of heli skiing still dabbling in there, but I'm mainly a foot powered approach for the most part.
You've been also on that line of thinking, a plant-based diet for the most part for a while now, or?
Yeah, I'm just over 2 years now vegan.
Yeah.
Which is one of those steps I've made in my personal life to lower my impact.
And it's been going well from a health and wellness. You're feeling good about it?
I feel amazing. Yeah, I'll never go back.
Right.
Yeah, I am. And actually, I had a friend who I was hanging out with a couple nights ago that referred to it as, like, rather than referring to it as being vegan, which is like pretty hardcore.
Yeah. And
means that, like, a lot of people that are vegan, it's like, you don't ever, like, eat a piece of cheese or nothing.
Yeah.
Goes into your system. And she was like, well, I like to think of myself a little bit more plant-based so that I don't have to hold myself to this, like, incredibly high standard constantly.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I going to do if I'm in Italy as a vegan? I'm going to have some cheese probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, if you're at someone's house and that's all there is and you don't want to be rude.
Yeah.
It's the end of the world to have a piece of cheese.
Totally. Yeah. Like, so I am, like, pretty hardcore vegan, but at the same time, there is, times where it's not always possible, and I'm not going to get bent out of shape about it. And do I have to have the label? Whereas, like, I'm just mostly plant-based guy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
When you were young, coming from racing, I know my friends when I was a kid that were racing, pretty strict, exercise, stretching. Did you carry that over into your free skiing career? That strict, regimented, exercise and wellness routine? Totally.
And I was so motivated when I was younger to make this career work.
Right.
Like, there was no other option in my mind. There was nothing else I wanted to do, and it was going to happen one way or another. And so I was highly motivated. So I was always in the gym,
right.
Like, that was part of it. It's like, I got to be strong. I got to be fit, mentally, physically, and eat right and all that sort of stuff. Like, it was always at the forefront of my mind. It's like, I have to do all these things and stack every bit of the odds in my favor to make this lifestyle work.
Yeah. And even then, you've had to battle some significant injuries too, right? Like,
oh yeah, for sure,
that's going to happen. But
yeah. I mean, for some people it happens. For others, not so much. Like, I look at someone like who's a close friend of mine, like Sage Catabriga-Alosa. He's, only recently did he ever deal with his first injury, and he's in his 40s now.
Yeah.
And so, but then for myself, I've had a few big ones. But you also look at our style. I'm much more, like, kind of hard hitting style, and he's like more flowy, smooth, buttery, and so there's just different impacts happening on our body. And I was always just a very kind of aggressive kind of skier, fiery ginger, so I was just charging and not as afraid as I should have been, maybe. So some injuries came along with that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the mental game plays a role. I know I read one of your big injuries was, after some relationship troubles and, just a tricky time in your life.
Yeah, it's a story I've told many times, but it's, I basically I was married previously to my current wife, who's amazing, and I love her, Jen. But my previous wife her and I, let's just put it nicely, we weren't right for each other. And, it just happened to be, I was in Alaska on a 5-week trip with TGR when we broke off our marriage over the phone. And then it was like the next day it went bluebird for like 5 days in a row. And we were skiing like 12-hour days, come back, and I wasn't sleeping. I didn't sleep for 5 days.
Right.
Because I would lay awake thinking about all the gnarly stuff I was going to ski the next day, or my failed marriage. And my mind would kind of bounce back and forth between the two. And I just couldn't sleep. And then it was like on that 5th day where I think my decision making just started to really not be good, you know, and I started doing some really dumb things. And I think I was skiing a little angry, which, you know, I look back at it, was still one of my best segments ever.
Right. It worked until it didn't.
It worked until it completely failed. So, you know, skiing angry was going okay. But then, it just took the wrong line. And I started to take everything for granted. Like, oh yeah, like, you know, you start to get in such the rhythm that you forget about the danger of what you're doing until you get a huge reality check and snap your leg off.
So do you feel like part of that was your age at the time? And, you know, now obviously having done that once, but even if that happened to you at this age, do you think you would still act the same, or would it be different with experience just those years? I
think it's just inevitable that you mature as a human being and grow. You know, I don't think it would anymore. Hard to say 100% for sure, but I really don't think I would fall victim to those same sorts of things that I fell victim that time. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I've changed and grown so much as a human being. And that actual moment was a catalyst in my life for completely changing the person I am. You know, like it transformed who I am completely. I was a different person. I look back at like that person I was before that accident and before that time in my life, before I had to return home from Alaska, broken leg, my wife was gone. You know, it's like I hit my lowest of low.
Empty house,
like rock bottom, you know, career might be done, all this sort of stuff. Right. And, it took that to really kind of go, well, how did I get to where I am right now? And then, you know, it was just a lot of self-growth and, living in the gym, but also reading books and just kind of really reflecting on why I had got myself into that situation, that marriage that was so wrong for me. And then also like being, you know, almost ending my career, all these sorts of things. It's like, I was very ego driven, you know, it's like, I look back at even that marriage and it was just ego. Like that was all that marriage fulfilled for me, you know, it's a very beautiful woman, you know, it's like, but my wife right now is very beautiful also, but that's not why I'm with her. Whereas back then it was like, that was the driving force. And it was like, it was more about like, people will think better of me because I got a really beautiful woman on my arm. And that fuels my ego. And then the way I was skiing was my ego. You know, everything was just egocentric. You know, I think I look back at like the first time I went to Alaska with like Jeremy Jones and Sage, and they were both like, whoa, this guy is like coming in hot. You know, and it was just because I had so much to prove, and I just wanted to show everyone how rad I was and all this sort of stuff. And I'm not that way at all anymore. I really don't care anymore.
Do you think part of it could have been just how, you know, the free skiing was kind of a new sport and the scene was still sort of ballooning in those eras, and it was a bit more of a less mature scene, which maybe helped build and stoke those egos?
I think so. Yeah.
For everyone?
Yeah, I think so. I think kids that are coming up these days are a lot more humble. But I think back then, you know, it's like also, who was I looking up to? You know, and no offense to Seth, like Seth's a friend of mine, but like he was very egocentric as well. And like very like F you and, you know, just like super, super angry, almost kind of personality. And like Sid Vicious, you know, it was just, and that was kind of like my mentor or the person I was looking up to. So it was like, I was taking a very similar approach to skiing. It's just like, I gotta be so badass. And like, you know, it's like all this sort of stuff and just very, very ego driven.
And living in Whistler in the time, right?
Yeah. And it was,
we were all there. It was a party all the time.
It was a party all the time. And everyone, you know, it was a big chest out kind of situation. Right. I look at these kids now, you know, I was just at IF3 a couple nights ago. Looking at, you know, the next generation of kids like Sam Cooch or Corey Richards and these guys that are Richardson that are like really killing it, but they're super humble kids, you know? And like all the kids on the Whistler freeride team that are just throwing down now, they're, you know, from what I can tell, they're all very, very humble kids and they're doing stuff that I could only ever dream of doing on skis. So it's cool to see that it's really changed.
Yeah. It's I wonder about these kids. It's so difficult. I don't live in Whistler anymore. I'm down the road in Squamish. You're up here in Pemberton. But I remember your first year in Whistler. You lived in a buddy's closet, $200 a month. Working nights so that you can ski all day. That classic, 90s 2000s ski bum life. And I'm wondering, are there kids out there now that as soon as they write their final exam in Kamloops, like Dana Flair did, do they jump in a buddy's hatchback and drive straight to Whistler and live that ski bum lifestyle? Are kids still crossing the country to be ski bums?
I would say that less so to come to Whistler.
Right. They're going to somewhere else.
They're going to the Whitewaters or the Revelstokes of the world right now. And you see that with like the next generation of, the kids who grow up in Whistler, like the Whistler freeride kids that I'm talking about, they're very much like that next generation of super talent. But I'm not seeing that next generation moving here to become like they're going elsewhere where it's a little bit more affordable and obtainable.
It's
and
hard to ski every day if you have 4 jobs, right?
Yeah. And like, let's face it, Vail is Vail. And it's done what it's done to the community and everything here in Whistler, right? It's changed our town forever. And whatever, like I'm not like I'm not here to badmouth Vail or anything like that, but it's just different, right?
And now it's some other town's turn.
Right?
Because there's lots of mountains and there's lots of towns.
Totally. And you see these kids coming out of Whitewater, right? And they're so amazing at hitting natural takeoffs, and it's because they don't have a terrain park. They've never had a natural or a manicured takeoff in their life. They're only hitting natural takeoffs. So it's like, I can see the next generation coming out of those places for that reason. It's they're more raw, and you can become the best skier in the world at any BC ski resort or even Alberta ski, or across the world. There's great ski resorts everywhere, right? And so you don't necessarily have to come to Whistler. Whereas in like my generation in our day, it was like, if you don't go to Whistler, you're not going to get noticed.
And that was the size of the industry too back then, right?
Like, totally.
There wasn't even the internet.
Exactly. I started my career and there was like Facebook was not really a thing. I remember when Twitter came out and we were like, that's stupid, like, totally. I started my career off without social media. And now it seems to be like, it's like the only thing that matters. And these kids that are growing up, at least they've always had it, so it's not something they have to adjust to.
Skills in the toolbox.
Skills in the toolbox. I feel bad for them that they've had to grow up with that skill set. Oh, watch out! But they've had to grow up with that skill set of social media, if you could call it a skill set. I don't know what it is, but as much as I feel for them, it's helping them in being the next generation of skiers, because it is important these days, I guess. And
you've got those battles in your own future. You've got 2 young kids.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
How has that changed things for you? I mean, we spoke about wingsuiting and stuff like that, and how getting married and having a kid made you pull off on that end of the risk. Is that constantly in your mind when you're in the mountains as well?
Yes. 100%. It's managing risk. I mean, it's always been huge, but like I say, it's as you get older, you think about it more and more and more, and you start a family, then it becomes even more of like a front of mind sort of thing. And like, it's not like I was ever not thinking about the risk I was taking. It's just that now it's like, okay, I'm not just thinking about myself anymore. The most important thing to me these days is my daughters. And as cliche as it is to say, it's the most important thing I've ever done with my life. And I don't want to let them down, So it's tough. Like, I actually, when we were going to do Mount Nelson last winter, I FaceTimed with my 2-year-old daughter, and it was the first time I felt really weird about going out and taking that kind of risk. So I don't know what that means for the future for me. I know I'm still going to be skiing professionally this year. But I also got my guide's ticket this year, and not that there's no risk in guiding in the mountains, it's still, you're in the mountains, but yeah, I'm starting to go down that road a little bit more. I think I'm going to be working within the film industry quite a bit, guiding the next generation of rippers. Helping with the safety aspect of that and kind of mentoring. So that's going to be part of it, but I'm still very much filming skiing and doing that as well. So it's like, okay, how do I manage that? And I don't have the answers. I'm just trying to do the best I can.
Pow turn segment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, pow turn segments are great and all, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's just about, just taking all the risks into the front of mind when you're doing everything and really thinking about it and making sure that you're making good decisions. And not going to say that I'm immune or, whatever to the risks that are out there, but hopefully if I use my head and keep making good decisions, then I can keep going.
Yeah. So. And keep, leading by example for the younger kids.
Yeah.
You've been in skiing, it sounds like, pretty full on your whole life.
Yeah.
Did you amass some other skill set along the way? Did you, how some kids will go get an electrician's ticket in the off season or did you do anything like that?
Well, I became a carpenter before I was ever a professional skier. Right. So I still fall back on that. I still help friends out.
Yeah.
My neighbor actually needs my help this week with some carpentry stuff. And, our friend Ashley McIver, I've been helping her out a bit with some work she's been doing. So yeah, like I still work the tools a little bit, but it's mainly just to help friends out and do my own stuff around my own place.
I think it's important for young kids to realize that to have anything in your back pocket.
You got to have some other skill sets going on because, the one of the biggest things that's caused me stress and anxiety as I'm in this part of my career is like, what's next? It's like, and how do I keep making money?
Yeah.
How do I preserve this lifestyle? Because this lifestyle I have is amazing, and so getting the guiding ticket was one of those ways. And, there might be guides listening out there. They're like, well, you're never going to make that good of money guiding. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I realize that it's a little bit different in that respect, but also, like just figuring out like how much money do I really need to make to maintain. And, I've been pretty lucky. We've done good with investing our money, my wife and I, in different kinds of things, whether it's real estate or the stock market or cryptocurrency or, we're pretty diversified, mutual funds, all these sorts of things. And so I feel pretty comfortable. We've paid our mortgage down on this house pretty good. So it's like moving forward, do I need to make the same amount of money? No. And can I continue to have the same lifestyle more or less? Yes. So it's less and less stress these days, but getting that guide ticket was a big one to help relieve that. Cause I didn't necessarily want to go work carpentry full time. It's nice to go help out friends or, maybe I'd work some weeks in the good times of the year where the weather's nice. But yeah, I think the one thing that I really don't want to do is be back, shoveling snow to bang nails, in the slop of Whistler. So, trying to avoid that, I think is kind of key for me. And yeah, along the way, I've developed a lot of different skill sets, but my wife and I we have a dream to beyond my ski career to sail around the world with our kids. And my wife's a teacher and she's going to homeschool the girls and we're going to get them away from social media and go see the world. And
you guys just got a boat this summer?
We got a boat with some partners this summer.
Yeah.
It's an older boat. It's a 1994 Beneteau sailboat, 45 foot. So it's a nice boat.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like the reason we went down that road with partners is to be able to learn from our partners how to sail and how to do all this, navigate with a huge vessel.
It's new to you. Obviously, there's not a ton of sailing in Invermere.
No, but my grandfather built a sailboat, and I used to sail with him when I was young.
Right.
But I mean, do I remember much about it? I was a pretty small kid.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that I loved it, I remember that much. And so I've been learning a bunch about sailing this summer.
Yeah.
I do a lot of research on my own time as well.
How are you with the knots?
Oh,
you got a lot of knots in the quiver here?
Yeah, getting there. Yeah.
I always have a hard time remembering, at my age, but
yeah, knots. The knots are a tough one to remember, but it's all about repetition, right?
Yeah.
You just start doing stuff.
And what about the mushroom, the lion's mane? Are you on that program?
Oh yeah, I'm on medicinal mushrooms every day.
Do you find that's helping with the mental game and remembering things like knots?
Yeah, I think it's just helping all around. Yeah. I mean, the thing about medicinal mushrooms is like, do you really know if they're like working?
Yeah.
They're just kind of doing their thing silently.
Yeah.
But the science is pretty clear that they work on keeping you healthy. And a great film, I'm not paid to say this by any means, is the Fantastic Fungi is a great film for people to check out because it's all about like mushrooms and how there's so much facts in there about mushroom. The mushrooms are an insane thing.
It's almost like the last frontier of things we don't really know hardly anything about, and we're just learning.
Totally, and they link. They're the neural network of the entire forest. And like all the trees are passing nutrients to one another through the mycelium network in the ground. They're passing signals to each other through the mycelium. They're like. We basically evolved from mushrooms. Like mushrooms are like the oldest living thing on our planet that we, organisms evolved from. So it's pretty crazy. Anyway, we could dive deep into the mushrooms.
No, I'm into it. I'm into it.
But it's I'm super huge advocate of.
I just got my first bottle of the Stay Wild,
Nice.
lion's mane.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking, because I'm just dropping into it myself. But.
Yeah. No, I put it in my coffee every morning. I take the tablets. It's great for your immune system. Get on the chaga too.
Right.
The chaga is so full of antioxidants. It'll help prevent you ever getting cancer or anything like that.
I always feel like, mushrooms, lots of them grow in these kind of dark, shitty areas, wet dark areas. That's where we live, right?
Totally.
So we should be getting mushrooms in us as much as we can.
Totally. And mushrooms are, they say they're not an animal, they're not a plant.
Yeah.
Right? They're technically a plant, but they feed, like they eat.
Yeah.
Which is not what a plant does. They don't photosynthesize like plants. Right. So they're somewhere in between a plant and an animal, which is just kind of cool.
They could be the salvation or they could be the end, right? We've all seen that
I think
zombie ant mushroom.
Totally. Yes, yeah. But yeah, I think there's a lot about mushrooms that we need to know more about, and I think there's a lot that they will do for us in the future to help save us from ourselves.
That was a bit of a sidetrack. We were talking about sailing, but you could grow mushrooms under the deck too.
Totally.
What's have you got a timeline for the sailing trip, or is there a age before the kids hit that you want to try and get it going? Or
okay, so I just turned 40. I'm gonna keep my ski career going for a few more years.
Yeah.
And then we also want our kids to be like at the absolute youngest 5.
Yeah.
Which my youngest daughter right now is 6 months old. So we're looking 5 years out at the earliest, which coincides pretty well with, I think, where I'll be at with my ski career. Announcement to my sponsors there. The reality is am I going to keep free riding forever? And sure, I could go down the full ski mountaineer path.
Yeah.
But am I going to do that with a family? I could. I know people that have. They're still around.
Yeah.
But I quit base jumping because I felt it was at that level of danger where I'm not really thinking about my kids enough.
Yeah.
And mountaineering is just as dangerous as base jumping, if not more, statistically wise. So do I want to mountaineer until I'm 60?
Yeah.
Probably not. Anyway, I think when they're about, at the earliest 5, we'll consider, but maybe it'll be more like our youngest will be 7, our oldest will be 9. We still want our kids to still want to do stuff with us, be at that age where they want to hang out with us.
Yeah, that sweet spot where they can actually be useful.
Yeah.
And remember it.
Yeah.
And be psyched on it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, just go out and show them the world. I want my daughters to be the surfer I always wanted to be.
Yeah.
If I wish one thing for them, is to be the surfer I always wanted to be. And so I think, yeah, we'll just be out there kiting, surfing, seeing the world, scuba, snorkel, whatever, just the ocean's like this whole other frontier. I've explored the mountains my whole life and lived in the mountains, and I'm always just, it's all about mountains all the time. Ocean's like this whole new exciting frontier of adventure for me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I'm a person that needs adventure. I need to be on an adventure all the time. And it's like, do I want to spend my kid's life out living in a tent on an adventure by myself with other people that aren't my immediate family, or do I want to take my family with me and go on an adventure and see the world? And that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I look at like someone like Angel Collinson right now, right? Like she just retired from professional skiing to go sail around the world, and her and I are on the very, very same kind of mind wavelength of, yeah, this is a whole nother exciting world that we haven't explored,
Yeah.
And so she's, obviously retired early and gone for it. And I applaud her for that. I still very much have some things I want to do in the ski world and things I want to pursue in the ski world before I go down that path. And now that we have kids, it's like, yeah, we also want to get them to that ripe age. So
you, I don't want to say have a reputation, but you're known as someone that the, female athletes enjoy going out into the hills with, enjoy riding with, enjoy spending time with. Not everyone has that, sort of reputation. We all know there's lots of dicks out there, but
yeah,
is that something did that just come from growing up, being with Christina, skiing with her, or has that been sort of a choice? Like, I'm actually having more fun, spending the time with the women more often.
Yeah, I think some guys go out with girls and they just look at like the negative aspects of being like, oh, they're not as rad, they're not doing things as rad or whatever, right? But these days that's changing dramatically anyway. Like the next generation of girls are radder than most guys I know, right? But aside from that, I just think feminine energy is pretty amazing. I think women should be running the world. We'd be living in a far better world. Probably would have solved climate change and wouldn't be having so many wars if women were running the world. It'd be a cleaner, safer, healthier, happier, more loving place. Men are full of ego, and that's why we get into wars. We're like children. We never grow up, right? Men are just,
especially around here.
Yeah, men, but like worldwide, even world leaders, they're babies. Like they, like you say something bad about them, and they like look at like a guy like Donald Trump. He's a child living in a 70-some-year-old body.
Lashing out.
Yeah, lashing out. And that's the male ego, the response to anything is to like drop bombs. Whereas there's a better way of doing things, and I honestly think like female energy is incredible. And so I've always really embraced that. I think, any girls that I went to high school with will always recognize that I was the guy that had like a lot of female friends. And I still do to this day. I think women are amazing, and so I've always kind of just embraced, being in the mountains with them and wanting to help them be their best self, and understanding that like, they've got different challenges than I have when they're in the mountains. And I just wanted to always help facilitate and try and pull the best out of themselves and see if I can help be the guy that allows them to do that, and I don't know, I'm not the person to like look down on anyone, so it's like, some people would be like, oh, I don't want to be out in the mountains with so-and-so or whoever. I'm just like, hey, are you having a good time? Are we having fun?
Yeah.
Or is there a smile on your face? Let's have fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's hope for the future. I know if you go to the skateboard park these days, it's a lot of young girls at the skateboard park.
And that's the thing, right? Is like girls are about to show all of us guys once, now that we're fully allowing them to do all the same things, that they are completely capable.
And of course it's going to happen in skateboarding first, because that's where everything comes from.
Totally.
In our sort of culture.
Yeah, that's the catalyst that everything else kind of follows suit, right? But you see it across the board in what women are doing in all sports, and in action sports especially. It's like they're pushing the bar higher and higher and higher, and getting to that level where they're blurring the line, and I think it's awesome. Like I was destined to have 2 girls. Hey, like it was like always when I was having children, I was like, they're girls. It's going to be girl. Like, I'd never doubted it for a second. And I'm so happy I do, because I think women are special, in so many ways. They're able to, make us,
Yeah.
like we all came from women.
Yeah.
And that's just the start of it. They're much more dialed, mentally, I think, as far as like a mature mindset and leaving the ego behind. And I think that's something that a lot of men in this world could learn from, and especially world leaders. I think we need way more women world leaders.
Yeah.
If
corporate leaders, world leaders.
Corporate leaders, world, because it's just, I mean, you look at guys like Jeff Bezos, right? Like, all right, dude, like, how little is your wang? Like, like he's just so egotistical, and he's out, burning 700 tons of carbon to spend 128 seconds in space. What, just so that he can beat his chest? It's like,
and like the spaceship legit looked like a giant dick.
Yeah,
like that has to be on purpose. No one's just pulling off the sheet. Here's your spaceship.
I mean, the guy looks like, and I mean, you just look at like him, for instance, and his ex-wife.
Yeah,
right.
She's crushing it, helping people.
She's crushing it, donating all of her money to charity and doing all these amazing things. And all he's doing for the world is freaking burning carbon so he can go to space and brag to everyone about how cool he is, about the fact that he went to space, and he's building super yachts for himself so that he can just like beat his chest some more. Like, this is the difference between men and women. And you see that at the highest level is like, we need the women to take over. And I think, like, you look back at like super ancient Egyptian, they were a monarchy, and they did a lot better, I think, than we are doing today. I think a lot of our problems on this planet right now are the fact that men are running the show.
Yeah, male ego.
It's too much ego.
Well, that is a fact for sure. I want to switch gears a little bit. I know we're getting lean on time, but I wanted to talk about this just because I saw Nick McNutt the other day, and it reminded me about the whole thing with the transceivers. Yeah. And I don't know if you've talked about that much. Probably you have, but I mean, I had one of those transceivers, right? And I'd never, I don't use it every single day because I'm, not out there as much as you guys. But if, sure enough, I went and tested it out, and it turned off. It was faulty. It turned off, and I, they replaced it and everything. But how have you guys gotten a lot of feedback from that, of people being like, "Holy shit, you guys made a huge difference"? Or
I definitely there's been a lot of like, wow, thank you guys. Yeah. It's just sad that it took like some people with some social media influence to actually drive this company to make change, because they knew that their product was faulty. They knew it for years. Yeah. And they decided that the bottom line was more important than people's lives. Right.
Yeah. It reminds me of that scene in Fight Club, right? Where the guys are the insurance claims for the deaths going to be more than the recall?
Totally.
Or, play the numbers.
Totally. And then, there's probably a bunch of guys running that business. Yeah. Not enough empathy for what might be going on. Yeah. Because they're faulty product that's supposed to be saving lives, or it's supposed to be that product that is there when the shit hits the fan. It's the one fail safe you can rely on. Yeah. And that's what happened to us. The shit hit the fan and our fail safe failed. Yeah. And then now what? Well, good thing we all have our heads on straight, and we spent a lot of time practicing with our rescue skills in the mountains, and we were still able to get McNutt out alive. Yeah. There's a good chance he could have died that day. Yeah. And it's all because they sell a faulty product, or were selling a faulty product that they knew full well they were selling. Yeah. And they claim they didn't, but they did, because when they made the new model, they changed it. Yeah. They changed the switch. Yeah. And the only reason they did that is because they knew the old one was faulty. Yeah. But they kept still selling the faulty one, And so anyway, I think like we got a lot of good feedback about it, and I'm glad that we were able to, drive, it's funny that we were able to kind of make a multi-million-dollar company change their ways. But I'm happy we were able to, and we warned them, right? We told them for months, like, hey, we'll give you guys the benefit of the doubt. We don't want to slander anyone, and that's not what we want to do. We want you guys to fix the problem So come up with a solution that works, or we're going to go public about this.
Yeah.
And they just kept kind of like, shrugging us off. And so eventually we went public, and the poop hit the fan, and they're the ones that lost out on millions and millions of dollars. I don't think really at the end of the day, it's like Black Diamond owns Peeps, right? I don't know what's going on with Peeps financially, but I know Black Diamond's stock is still going up.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're all fine. It's at the end of the day. But what really matters is that we got that faulty product out of people's hands, and hopefully ultimately save some lives.
Yeah, yeah. Well, potentially mine.
Yeah.
Right? I
freaking love you, man. So I'm glad. And that's the thing, right? Is like I saw a lot of friends using that product, and even McNutt, like I went to buy that exact transceiver,
right,
and the guy in the store told me not to because the switch was faulty.
Right.
And then when the accident happened to McNutt, I was like, that switch is faulty. That's why it happened. Like, cause we know we checked you, and we know it was on.
Yeah. So
it had to have turned off, and sure enough, that was the deal.
Just the right impact, but not even that unique of an impact, right?
And when you think about it, like after the fact, thinking about it, like the design is like, oh, well, it just makes total sense that if you you can slap the transceiver on a sliding up motion and turn it off.
Totally.
So it just from an engine, and that's what I did a post that was like, if you're an engineer designing safety products in this industry and you can't wrap your head around why this is faulty, then you should find a new job.
Yeah. Go back to pumping gas in Oregon.
Yeah, because it's so easy to understand why it doesn't work.
Yeah. What was your first job, speaking of?
Dishwashing.
Nice.
Yeah. And just dishwashing at a big restaurant, did big banquets and stuff.
Do you remember how much you're making an hour?
Oh, it was like $7.50 or something like that, but I hated it, man. Yeah. Oh man, I was 13 years old,
Yeah.
I didn't want to be working full time all summer long, but I was, I hated it so much. And then when I was 15, I had 4 jobs at one point at the same time, so I've always had strong work ethic.
Ski bum preparation.
Yeah. And I think that work ethic, transferred over to when I was pursuing the free ski lifestyle, like I was talking about before.
Yeah.
And it was through that hard work, it's like, I'm not the most talented guy out there. I'm not spinning, double 1080s or anything like that. It's like, I'm simply just a hard charging kind of skier that likes to go fast. And, I figured out a way to make it work, and so you don't even have to be the person with the most natural talent out there, as long as you got lots of hard work ethic.
So what about this winter coming up? Have you got your plans kind of laid out, who you're going to be going on trips with? Are you going to keep it local or?
I'm working on some stuff right now. It's so hard what we've realized over the years is so hard to plan ahead of time, because every time we do, those plans change completely.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ideas floating around right now, and it's just kind of see how things unfold as the winter progresses. I don't typically start filming until like February sometime. So there's still a lot of time, just start getting legs under me, ski a ton, build confidence. And then, when you start getting the cameras going, then you're not just like, getting B-roll, you're actually getting A+ shots.
Yeah.
And so, I want to get back out there with Sage. It's been a bunch of years since we did some really cool stuff together. So we're trying to work on something together to film with TGR. There's going to be some guiding of the next generation, I think, going on. We'll see if Christina and I, we're bouncing some ideas around for some other adventures. And then we'll just see how it goes, just trying to enjoy. I'm at that point in my career where I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, and I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it, because who knows how many more years I'm going to be able to keep doing this. Hopefully a bunch, but we'll see. And I just want to enjoy myself. I don't want to put too much pressure on it, and see how it all unfolds. And typically that's the best way to go about it. It usually works out the best.
Well, the shot's always better if there's a smile on your face. So
yeah, the person who's having the most fun is usually doing the best out there, right?
Yeah.
So you put too much pressure on yourself, you take yourself too seriously, and bad things start happening. So
sick. All right, well, let's end her there. Thanks for your time, Ian.
Pleasure, Feet.
We'll see you on the hill.
Yeah, buddy. All right, cheers.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ian. And thanks, Shirai, for the intro vocals. And thanks, Adrian, for the music. And thanks to you all for listening. And happy opening weekend, wherever you are and whenever that is. We're all incredibly lucky, privileged really, to have access to these beautiful natural spaces that we're going to play in all winter. So let's do our best to take care of them and each other. I'll see you next month. This is Live It Up with Mountain Life. Thanks for tuning in.